ArsenalFanTV, Mo. First of all, you know what? I'm not even going to beat around the bush now. Should Wenger leave the club after the performance tonight?
Today? You mean today?
At the end of this season, should Wenger go after the performance tonight?
And I'm not going
It's
to...
back-to-back 5-1 defeats in the Champions League.
Listen, I'm not going to fall for the trap of answering a question that doesn't encapsulate the whole conversation, and I'm just going to stick to my guns. People say I'll sit on the fence, but ultimately...
Well, let me encapsulate for you.
Let me finish.
It's the champion... No, 1 second.
Please let me finish my point, right? You have to... There's a consequence to every action. You have to take the whole thing into consideration. And last year I was saying, if we get Pep Guardiola, then yes, I'm Wenger out. This year I'm saying, if we get Allegri, if we get Simeone, if we get Sampaoli, a manager of that caliber,
did you hear
then
what that last
yes,
guy?
I'm
He
Wenger
said,
out.
sometimes you have to. You're a businessman. You work in business, right? Like that gentleman just said, sometimes you have to take risks in business. Yeah. You have to take risks. Now, there's a march going on earlier on, and they said the reason for the symbolic part of the march from Highbury to here was because they were told 10 years ago that they're going to be able to compete with Bayern Munich. We'll be the new Bayern Munich of... Now, we're not. We've just lost 10-2 on aggregate. So, to me, I want a clear... I'm just asking you for a clear... I know I'm putting you on the spot a bit, but I'm asking you for a clear... If you was in charge up there, would you be looking at it now and saying, no, we have to change this guy. He's not going to deliver what we want.
Robbie, if I was in charge of the club, there'd be a hell of a lot of things that I'd be looking to change. But on this thing that gets mentioned a lot, that, we were promised we're going to be like Bayern Munich, and, we moved from Arsenal to, from Highbury to Emirates to become a super club and that sort of thing. I know this is boring, and I know it's not going to get views, and I know it's going to make people frustrated, but unfortunately there are just some annoying truths out there where an industry changes and you can't predict these changes. The rise of the TV money, no one could predict that, yeah? What has happened with Roman Abramovich, Sheikh Mansour, no one could really predict that. And that has really changed big parts of our plans. When we decided to move to the stadium, we thought this would financially set us apart from other teams. And unfortunately, other income streams have grown. And this is
still the seventh richest club in the world.
I appreciate that.
Arsenal Football Club.
But if you look at it based on our wages and how we kind of fare in the league and our wage bill, and this is like a very strong correlation between wages and performance, we're basically on par. Now, what I'm saying is
10-2. To Bayern Munich,
on
par.
You can twist the argument how you want it, right?
But I'm saying they don't spend. Their budget is not way more than what we spend at Bayern Munich. We shouldn't be getting beaten 10-2.
Of course, but Robbie, there's no correlation between wages and 180 minutes of football. There's a correlation between wages and your overall performance in competition. So you can't twist the argument and then just put it to this. Obviously, this is unacceptable. And yes, I do agree Arsenal are underperforming. But my point is, look, you have to cut a bit of slack in terms of, just constantly beating the club, and you have to appreciate that there is a more complex dynamic than just saying, oh, we're crap, we're rubbish. So I'm just trying to give a bit of that balance here. But if I was in charge of this club, yes, I would definitely, absolutely 100% be saying, should his position be called under question now? And I would personally be saying right now that, has he done enough to earn a new contract? I'm not sure that is the case. And more pertinent than that,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, because you also have to appreciate there's 20 teams in the Premier League. We've got a long way further to fall than we have to climb. I know that we get completely blinded by our own position and we're used to top four and all of this sort of stuff, but there are a whole host of teams that would like to be in our position. So you have to have a little bit of caution. You can't just go and take a crazy risk where you actually fall further behind. I said last week that I think Arsenal are regressing, and I still stand by that. But if we went and chose the wrong man, we'd regress at a quicker rate. We need to make sure that we do things in a sensible way. At the end of the season, I think there are quite a few men in this world now, maybe even women, I don't know, but there's quite a few people in this world now that I think can take Arsenal into progression rather than the slow rate of regression that we're going through now. So I would be going for people like, as I've said, Allegri, Simeone, Sampaoli, people of that sort of caliber, Tuchel, people like that. that could potentially turn our fortunes around. But what we can't do is just blindly say, "Oh, Wenger out, he's rubbish," and then go and get someone like, what if I offered you?
Can't blame people, Mo. You know what I mean?
But Robbie, listen, I get football's emotional, right? But if you ask me if I was in charge, and I've got a business that is, a company that is, if I was Stan Kroenke, this is a big part of my net worth. I'd be looking to protect it, and I'd be trying to choose the right man.
Mo.
Let me ask you: would you, if I said to you, Wenger out, we're getting Gary Neville in as the next manager, what would you say?
No, but I wouldn't be looking to bring in somebody like Gary Neville. That's a bit ridiculous. But what I would say,
nor am I. So
what I would be looking at, Mo.
Guarantee me the right man, and then yes, reluctantly, I love Arsene Wenger, but yeah, you have to be realistic.
What I would be looking at, Mo, if I was in charge of this club, what I would be looking at is I'd be like 10-2. I mean, when I walk out when I drive out of this club, I'm feeling embarrassed. I've just beaten 10-2 by Bayern Munich. I can't even look their officials in the face because they've just beaten me 10-2. We've been beaten 6-0 by Chelsea. We've been beaten 6-3 by Manchester City. We've got beat 3-1 at the weekend. We're always always getting these humiliating defeats.
Now you're painting a deeper picture.
So hold on, and this is just over the past couple of seasons, and I'd be looking at it and saying, my God.
Yeah.
This can't go on.
You're right, and now you're painting a deeper picture, and I think that's more of a credible argument than just taking 180 minutes.
That's what's been happening at this club.
But
so
what you're presenting now is
the
a
risks
credible
that you're talking about, maybe it may be worth taking a risk on somebody else.
Sure, and now you're presenting a credible argument where that trend has started to occur at Arsenal. We do get battered by big teams, and we have this kind of, we've got no concept of damage limitation. Not only do we not know how to win, but we almost don't even know how to lose properly now, we literally just explode in our own faces. It's terrible, So I accept that, there are many reasons, and this is what I've said in the past. At this stage now, it's easier to make a case for Arsene to leave than it is for him to stay.
What can save him? Finally, what can save him this season?
Well, look, this is how I see it going. If we go and put a run together, finish in the top 4 and win the FA Cup, I don't think he'll leave. And look, I've always said that as an Arsenal fan, FA Cup is an absolute minimum. That's kind of neutral. That we're not happy, we're not exactly annoyed, but that's an absolute neutral, bog standard expectation that this club should have. Silverware every year, League Cup doesn't count, FA Cup's a minimum. But when you keep on doing that, you keep on hitting absolute bog standard, you kind of say, look, we want to progress from that. So even if he wins the FA Cup this year, I'm not really content with that. And I do think, as I say, there are men in this world that can take us on to another level. So I think we should be pursuing those. But the last thing as well, the protest today, right? I hate seeing that, but I do respect people's opinions, and they've got a valid reason to be doing that. But for me, I'm just going to end this by saying, look, you might all hate to hear this, but I love Arsene Wenger. I love what he's done for the club. Just continue to show the man a bit of respect, and also bear this in mind that if after 20 years Arsene Wenger leaves the club this season, when the history books look back on how he was treated in his last few months, on an individual basis, look at yourself and say, did you contribute to something disgusting, or did you contribute to a fitting tribute for the man? Whatever we do, whatever we say...
I didn't see nothing disgusting tonight.
No. I accept that, and credit it to them. There wasn't anything disgusting in the protest, but you see a lot of it on social media, elsewhere, even when you speak to people. And all I'm kind of trying to urge people to do is just consider what role do they want to play in the last few months of a man that has been at the helm of this club for 2 decades. Let him go out with some dignity. You swearing or abusing him is not going to encourage the board or discourage the board. It's irrelevant to the board. So you might as well give Arsene Wenger a bit of a tribute that he deserves, and actually, let him leave with his head held high.